The House will come to order. Today, the pledge will be led by Representative Leader from House District 28.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Schiebel, please call the roll.
Representative Zamabile. Rep. Amabile.
Excused.
Armagast. Bacon. Byrd. Bockenfeld. Basenecker.
Here.
Bottoms. Bradfield. Bradley. Brown. Catlin. Representative Catlin is excused. Doherty. DeGraff. Degree Kennedy. Dixon. Duran. English. Epps. Representative Epps. Epps is excused. Evans. Frizzell. Froelich. Garcia. Rep. Garcia. Garcia is excused. Gonzalez Gutierrez. Gonzalez Gutierrez is excused. Hamrick. Hartsook. Herod. Rep. Herod is excused. Holtorf. Oh, Holtorf is here. Judah. Joseph. Kip. Leader. Lindsay. Lindstead. Luck. Representative Luck is excused. Lukens. She's here. Lukens is present. Lynch. Mabry. Marshall. Martinez. Morrow.
Here.
McCormick. McLaughlin. Michelson Janae. Ortiz. Parenti. Representative Parenti. Puglisi. Ricks. Representative Ricks. Ricks is excused. Charbini is here. Sirota. Snyder. Soper. Rep. Soper. Soper's excused. Story. Representative Story. Excused. Taggart. Tatone. Valdez A. Velasco. Vigil. Weinberg. Weissman. Rep. Weissman. Weissman's excused. Wilford. Wilson. Winter. Woodrow. Woodrow's here. Young. And Madam Speaker.
Yes, so approve it. So please approve it.
I'm so dependent. 56? With 56 present and 9 excused, we do have a quorum. Representative Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, it's always a bomb to serve with you.
It is right back at you. Thank you, Rep. Leader.
So this is how it will work today, because we failed miserably yesterday. If you approve the journal with limited debate, we won't have to stay late. So I move that the journal of Monday, April 17th, 2023 be approved as corrected by the chief clerk.
Members, you have heard the motion that the journal be approved as corrected by the chief clerk. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Committee chairs, announcements. Representative Michelson Janae.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Public and Behavioral Health and Human Services Committee, we will be hearing 7 bills today. So when it is time for us to meet, please meet in a timely fashion, and I look forward to seeing you all there.
Representative Froelich.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee meets this afternoon. We hope as close to 1:30 as possible. LSBA for 4 bills: Senate Bill 1, Senate Bill 178, Senate Bill 187, and Senate Bill 166.
Representative Kipp.
Energy and Environment Committee, I wanted to let you know we are not meeting tomorrow, but we will be meeting at an unusual time on Thursday. We will be meeting up on adjournment on Thursday.
Thank you. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to proceed out of order for consideration of resolution.
Seeing no objection, we will proceed out of order for consideration of resolutions. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Joint Resolution 1021.
House Joint Resolution 1021 by Representatives Michelson, Janae, and Weinberg, also Senators Gardner and Janal, concerning the commemoration of the Holocaust.
Representative Michelson, Janae.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move House Joint Resolution 1021 and ask that it be read at length.
Mr. Schiebel, please read our resolution.
Whereas genocide begins not with violence but with words, and whereas prejudice, bigotry, bias, and racism have been the cause of conflict, war, and mass atrocities throughout human history, and whereas observing an individual moment of silence for each Jewish victim of the Holocaust would take over 11 years, and whereas the English word Holocaust derives from Greek words meaning whole, holos, and burnt, kostos, and generally describes destruction on a mass scale. Holocaust, as a proper noun, specifically refers to the state-sponsored persecution and mass murder of European Jews and others at the direction of the German Nazi government between 1933 and 1945. And whereas the Nazis who came to power in Germany in January 1933 asserted that Germans were racially superior and that Jews and others were inferior and an alien threat to the so-called German racial community. And whereas the Nazis used anti-Semitism as a political weapon to gain popular support, blaming Jews for all of Germany's problems, including the country's defeat in World War I, the economic depression, and the Bolshevik threat of communism. It made little difference that the Nazis' accusations were blatantly contradictory and their so-called facts were fabricated. And whereas between 1933 and 1945, Nazi Germany and its collaborators murdered 6 million Jews, 2 out of every 3 Jews who lived throughout Europe, 1.5 million of whom were children, as well as 5 million other civilians, including Sinti people, Roma people, people with intellectual or developmental disabilities, gay men, Jehovah's Witnesses, Soviet prisoners of war, and political dissidents. And whereas we recall that in the aftermath of the war, Israel, a close ally and friend of the United States, became a refuge for many survivors who endured the ravages of the Holocaust and has remained a sanctuary for Jews worldwide seeking safety ever since. And whereas we gratefully acknowledge that the more than 28,000 non-Jews who at great risk to themselves saved Jews from extermination during the Holocaust and have been designated righteous among the nations by Yad Vashem, the World Holocaust Remembrance Center. And whereas today, as we mourn the loss of those who were killed and consider the terrible experiences of those who suffered and lived through the Holocaust, we note that anti-Semitic acts are not a thing of the past. According to the Anti-Defamation League's annual audit of anti-Semitic incidents, anti-Jewish incidents surged to historic levels in 2022, with a total of 3,697 incidents reported across the United States, an increase of 36% compared to 2021. In Colorado, there were 71 reported incidents of anti-Jewish harassment, vandalism, and assault in 2022, which is the second highest level recorded in more than 10 years. Colorado ranked 12th in the country in 2022 and 8th in 2021 for the most reported anti-Semitic incidents. Globally, there has also been an increase in anti-Semitic incidents. Some Jews feel more isolated and vulnerable as a result. And whereas we must also acknowledge that ethnic cleansing, genocide, terrorism, crimes against humanity, and wars on civilian populations are not relics of the past. And whereas, regretfully, the phrase never again has become yet again, as we see today and in the recent past so much brutality in places like Myanmar, Syria, Iraq, Nigeria, Bosnia, Cambodia, Ukraine, Rwanda, the Central African Republic, Sudan, and South Sudan. And whereas today, while we remember the Holocaust, we focus our attention on the passing of Holocaust survivors who provided firsthand accounts of the terrors they endured, leaving their children and grandchildren as the last generations to know the stories of the Holocaust directly from those who lived through it. And whereas, while we are fortunate that several organizations in Colorado are dedicated to retelling the stories of the Holocaust and other genocides, it is not enough. Far too many people, including most students, need more opportunities to learn about these atrocities so they are not repeated. To mitigate the issue, on July 8th, 2020, Governor Polis signed into law House Bill 1336, requiring the satisfactory completion of a course that includes Holocaust and genocide studies as a condition of high school graduation in public schools. And whereas we recognize the tremendous investment and preparation that Colorado school districts, administrators, and foremost, classroom educators are putting forth to implement and support House Bill 1336 as they ensure the phrase "we remember" will carry meaning and merit for generations of Colorado students. And whereas it is our responsibility to bear witness to the truth of the horrors of the Holocaust, its many lessons, and to prevent hateful words from building up like the bricks that built Auschwitz. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 74th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the Senate concurring herein, that we, the members of the General Assembly, commemorate the Holocaust, promote anti-bias, bullying prevention, and Holocaust and genocide education programs in school districts and universities to prevent anti-Semitic incidents that target Jewish students, including as a result of their actual or perceived support of the State of Israel, and declare that the people of Colorado should understand the power of words, remember the great injustices of the past, and commit to preventing such atrocities in the future.
Representative Weinberg.
I really got to figure out my tributes back to back that suck. I'll throw it out there. This one hits a little close to home, as I'm sure you can see. The first thing I want to acknowledge is everybody in the chamber and my fellow colleagues. I appreciate you standing with me. Very short story. My name is Yaron Yechiel Weinberg. My father is Yoram Yaakov Weinberg, and my son is Jonathan Yoram Weinberg. My family has a very deep rooted from the Holocaust. My grandfather, Yitzhak, luckily escaped Nazi Germany and went to fight on horseback in Russia, sometimes with only one bullet in his gun, fighting the Nazi threat. My grandmother was not so lucky. She watched her whole family perish and die, gassed and burned by the hands of the Nazi regime. She was lucky enough to survive, and both of them were there for the founding of Israel. I want to remind everybody in this chamber what a tyrannical government with far overreach can do to its population. We are not Republicans or Democrats in this chamber. We are people all working for the rest of Colorado. The tyranny of mankind exists, and it can exist without us putting good legislation and law that protects every single individual. And we are only at a state level. Today is a hard day. This hurts my heart. I'm honored that I can even come close to being able to honor my family, my lineage. But know this, you have 12 million that perished, 6 of which, if we had to hold a moment of silence, we would be here for 11 years. I want you to take that into your hearts for a minute. We take 1 minute of silence for somebody who falls, our police officers, our veterans. If we had to take a minute for the 6 million that perished, burnt and gassed at the hands of an evil, tyrannical regime, we would not leave this chamber for 11 years. I'm grateful to all of you for taking the time to hear this out. I'm grateful for you to honor my family. But please keep in mind the hearts and memories of every single person that did not need to perish during an evil time in our history. And let us work every single day with that in the back of our minds, that we will never, ever let that happen again to any populace in the world. Never again. Never again by my standard, never again by yours. Thank you.
Representative Michelson-Janae.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and members, please be seated. You can sit in the gallery as well. This is always a hard day for the members of the Jewish Caucus and for our community. Today is that day where around the world we remember those who we lost. It is incumbent upon us to continue to tell those stories, to make sure that the next generation not only knows that people perished, but that there were people who lived. Sometimes we are only talking about the fact that they died, but they have stories like Yaron's family, like my family, like all of our caucus's family. They have stories about what it took for them to survive and make it to whatever country, South Africa, the United States, Israel, wherever people made it. They made it, and we still have a community today. While we are a super minority at 0.2% of the population, we are not gone. The final solution did not work, and we still can contribute to society and be part of the fabric of community. Today we have with us members of the Jewish community, including a Holocaust survivor, and including my rabbi, and members from the ADL. Please stand, Jewish community. I can't call you out all by name. But we have Jewish Colorado, the Anti-Defamation League, and Rodef Shalom, as well as Zioness and National Council of Jewish Women. Please welcome our members and our teachers here who are here today. You may be seated. It has been my custom to sing a song that is from the Holocaust, and I will just briefly sing a small snippet for you today of the song Ani Ma'amin. The song is I Believe, and it is told that people on their way to the gas chamber were singing this song as they knew that they were going to their final moments. Ani Ma'amin, Ani Ma'amin, Ani Ma'amin, Be'emunah shelema, Beviat HaMashiach, Beviat HaMashiach, Ani Ma'amin, V'af al pi she'yismameach, Beviat HaMashiach ani ma'amin. Thank you, members, for giving us time to commemorate today.
Thank you, representatives. Members, the motion before us is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1021. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Please close the machine. With 60 aye, 0 no, 5 excused, House Joint Resolution 1021 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Basenecker, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to proceed out of order for third reading of bills, final passage.
Members, seeing no objection, we will proceed out of order for third reading of bills. Mr. Schiebel. Please read the title to House Bill 1245.
House Bill 1245 by Representatives Parenti and Wilford, also Senator Priola, concerning requirements under the Fair Campaign Practices Act for municipal elections.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1245 on third reading, final passage.
Representative Parenti.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is an honor to serve with you.
And an honor to serve with you.
Colleagues, I must humbly ask for your permission to run an amendment on third reading.
Yes.
Please proceed.
This is a conforming amendment to correct an oversight that occurred when we passed the bipartisan Amendment L10 to House Bill 1245 on second reading. The amendment is necessary to maintain the ratios between individual and committee contribution limits that exist throughout Article 23 of the Colorado Constitution and the Fair Campaign Practices Act.
Thank you, Representative Parenti. Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is for permission to run a third reading amendment. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Representative Zamabali, Taggart, Woodrow. Representative Woodrow. Please close the machine. With 48 aye, 12 no, and 5 excused, permission to run a third reading amendment is granted. Representative Parenti.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move Amendment L11 and ask that it be displayed. So, colleagues, you can see that this amendment changes the number 2,500 to 4,000. It's a very simple amendment. This amendment changes the contribution limit for small donor committees under the bill. The reason for this is because it is well established in the Colorado Constitution and the past 20 years of the Colorado Fair Campaign Practices Act that there should be a 10-to-1 ratio between small donor committee and individual contribution limits. When our colleagues from across the aisle came to us and asked to raise the individual contribution limit, we should have also remembered to increase the small donor committee limit commensurately. This amendment fixes that oversight to conform the bill with the rest of Colorado statute, and we urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of L011 to House Bill 1245. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Please close the machine. With 55 aye, 6 no, 4 excused, the amendment is adopted. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move for the repassage of House Bill 1245 as amended.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1245 as amended. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Minority Leader Lynch. Please close the machine. With 45 ayes, 16 no, and 4 excused, House Bill 1245 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to Senate Bill 180.
Senate Bill 180 by Senators Cutter and Baisley, also Representatives Titone and Weinberg, concerning changes to the state's payroll system to codify current pay periods for state employees.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move Senate Bill 180 on third reading, final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 180 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Please close the machine. With 61 ayes, 0 no, 4 excused, Senate Bill 180 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to Senate Bill 183.
Senate Bill 183 by Senators Priola and Baisley, also Representatives Titone and Weinberg, concerning the elimination of the requirement that a local government obtain voter approval to provide certain communications services.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move Senate Bill 183 on third reading, final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 183 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Please close the machine. With 48 aye, 14 no, and 3 excused, Senate Bill 183 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Basenecker, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to Senate Bill 69.
Senate Bill 69 by Senators Henriksen and Will, also Representatives McLaughlin and Soper, concerning the requirements to operate a motorboat in this state.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move Senate Bill 69 on third reading, final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 69 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Representatives Holtorf and Story. Please close the machine. With 54 aye, 8 no, 3 excused, Senate Bill 69 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Basenecker, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to Senate Bill 4.
Senate Bill 4 by Senators Marchman and Hawkes Lewis, also Representatives Michelson, Janae, and Young, concerning employment of certain school-based therapists.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move Senate Bill 4, excuse me. I move Senate Bill 4 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 4 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine, and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Please close the machine. With 62 ayes, 0 no, 3 excused, Senate Bill 4 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Basenecker, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1162.
House Bill 1162 by Representative Woodrow, also Senator Rodriguez, concerning the regulation of consumer legal funding transactions and in connection therewith, authorizing the administrator of the Uniform Consumer Credit Code to adopt rules regulating creditor-imposed charges for certain consumer credit transactions that are secured by a consumer's potential proceedings from a settlement or judgment obtained in associated legal claim.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1162 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1162 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Please close the machine. 44 aye, 18 no, 3 excused. House Bill 1162 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Basenecker, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of House Bill 1218.
House Bill 1218 by Representatives Brown and Titone, also Senator Hawkes Lewis, concerning requiring that a healthcare facility inform patients as part of the informed consent process of services that the healthcare facility refuses to provide to patients when the refusal is for non-medical reasons and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1218 on third reading and final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1218 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Please close the machine. With 43 aye, 19 no, and 3 excused, House Bill 1218 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Members, we are on thirds. Please keep your voices down. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1209.
House Bill 1209 by Representatives Basenecker and McCormick, also Senator Hawkes Lewis, concerning the analysis of a universal health care system and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1209 on third reading, final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1209 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Representative Brown. Please close the machine. With 42 aye, 20 no, and 3 excused, House Bill 1209 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1215.
House Bill 1215 by Representatives Sirota and Basenecker, also Senators Mullica and Cutter, concerning limitations on hospital facility fees and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1215 on third reading, final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1215 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Please close the machine. With 40 aye, 22 no, and 3 excused, House Bill 1215 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1136.
House Bill 1136 by Representatives Ortiz and Hartsook, also Senators Winter F. and Liston, concerning health insurance coverage for a prosthetic device necessary for a covered person to engage in certain types of activities and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move House Bill 1136 on third reading, final passage.
The motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1136 on third reading, final passage. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Please close the machine. With 62 aye, 1 no, and 2 excused, House Bill 1136 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Basenecker, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Madam Majority Leader, before we proceed, we are going to read some business. Reports of committees of reference.
Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bills 1076 as amended, 1078 as amended, 1081, 1133 as amended, 1138, 1174 as amended, 1199, 1210, 1223 as amended, 1240 as amended, 1242 as amended, 1247 as amended, 1252, 1260 as amended, 1267 as amended, 1270 as amended, 1274, 1277. Senate Bills 6, 12 as amended, 17 as amended, 36, 39 as amended, 49 as amended, 58, 61, 87, 94, 99, 149, 151, 163 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 76 be referred to the Committee on Legislative Counsel. Committee on Finance, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1257 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. House Bill 1290 be referred to the Committee on Appropriations. Senate Bill 161 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. Senate Bill 165 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. Senate Bill 175 be amended as followed, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. And Senate Bill 196 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. Senate Bill 208 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Committee on State, Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs. House Bills 1271 and 1278 be referred favorably to the Committee on the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation.
Message from the governor.
Honorable members of the
Message
Colorado
from the
House.
governor will be buried deep in the journal. Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, pursuant to the rules, I need to announce the judiciary calendar today. I didn't have a chance to do this earlier because the conference committee ran a bit long. So at 1:30 today, Judiciary Committee is hearing 8 bills. You heard me right, 8 bills. 1222, 1293, 1292, 1286, and then Senate Bills 88, 22, 24, and 203. We'll try to keep to that order. We may have to move 1 or 2 things around due to witness availability and sponsors being in other committees, but we'll do all 8 bills on the calendar, 130 Old State Library, the big room over that way. Thank you.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to move the following bills be added to the special orders calendar at 9:47 a.m. House Bill 1267, 1076, 1138, 1174, 1270, and 1274.
The bills listed by the Majority Leader will be added to the special orders calendar at 9:47 a.m. Speaker Pro Tem Degree Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House now resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of special orders.
Members, you've heard the motion. Seeing no objections, the House will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of special orders. Speaker Pro Tem Degree Kennedy will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there is a request for reading a bill at length. Committee reports are printed in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads. Bills will be laid over upon the motion of the Majority Leader, and the coat rule is relaxed. Majority Leader Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I move to lay over Senate Bill 60 until tomorrow.
Seeing no objection, the bill will be laid over as requested by the Majority Leader. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1267.
House Bill 1267 by Representatives McCluskey and Soper, also Senator Roberts, concerning increased penalties for speeding violations on highways with steep downhill grades.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1267 and the Transportation Committee report.
To the committee report. And please also move the appropriation. Representative Soper.
And I also move the Appropriations Committee report.
Okay, to the Appropriations Committee report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we realigned some dates as per the request of the State Patrol to make it January 1st, 2024.
Speaker McCluskey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you.
My wonderful co-prime has just called out what we did in transportation, housing, and local government. In appropriations, we did make an appropriation to be able to fund the increase in this penalty? In this fine, excuse me. I ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee report is adopted. To the Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee report. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and sorry, I must have been a little bit asleep as far as the order of things. But we rearranged the date in transportation to have the act take effect on January 1st, 2024, and would ask for a yes vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee report is adopted. To the bill. Speaker McCluskey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I-70 is a critical piece of Colorado's interstate trade. Accessibility to the mountains and ski resorts are great outdoor recreation opportunities and important to the state's overall economic growth. CDOT has found that speeding is the leading cause of accidents on I-70, and specifically for commercial motor vehicles, the second highest cause of accidents along I-70 is speeding related. In 2022 alone, of the 266 CMV crashes, 79 were caused by speeding related violations. House Bill 1267 allows CDOT to designate an area of any state highway where the downhill grade is 5% or greater, or where safety concerns exist, as steep downhill grade zone. In these zones, the fines for speeding violations of CMV vehicles will be doubled, as marked by signs or mile markers. And the goal of this increased penalty is to further incentivize safe driving, since we know almost 90% of those drivers who come through our state on I-70 are from out of state. And it's important to note that the money will go into an account towards educational outreach and public information about runaway truck events, the purchase and implementation of equipment to reduce the frequency of runaway truck events, and the completion of studies so that we may better understand what the challenges are for our truckers and help improve overall safety on the highways. As a frequent tourist on I-70, I see plenty of incidents on that highway and see the road closures, experience them myself. Thank you for your support of this important legislation to improve safety on our steep mountain grades.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I first want to thank my co-prime sponsor, Speaker McCluskey. It's great to be on this bill with her. Members, as someone who commutes I-70 on a weekly basis, I can tell you that the closure of I-70 from semi-truck accidents not only costs time to someone like myself who's trying to get either to or from the Capitol, but it also costs the state and nation in commerce, and the delays also can be of major health concerns to Coloradans who are stuck in those traffic jams, particularly if those Coloradans don't have a full charge on their vehicle, don't have enough gas, if there's a health emergency while they're stuck in traffic for hours and hours and hours on end while we're trying to clear up a semi-accident. That can have devastating consequences. One statistic that was cited in committee, albeit it's about 20 or 30 years old, is that for every hour I-70 is closed, it costs the nation's economy $1 million. And my dad, who was a semi-truck driver who drove Western Slope fruits and vegetables over to the Front Range and then back hauled McDonald's and Starbucks, not a fair trade, by the way, he talked about just how dangerous the mountain passes are and how it really does take a certain level of skill in driving to be able to navigate those. And if you're unfamiliar with I-70 and mountain driving, even as a semi-truck driver, all of a sudden you can be going a bit too fast. And the speed can be utterly devastating when we're talking a 26,000-pound semi-truck. And then you have motorists that will also want to cut in front of those semi-trucks and immediately slam on the brakes. So there's just a lot of challenges there, and that's why semi-drivers are unlike any other drivers. One statistic that was also reported is we have 34 passes in Colorado that have more than 5% steep grades. That's more than any other state in the nation. We also have the most runaway trucks in the nation, and 90% of these trucks are from out of state. So by being able to double the fines within the 5% steep grade zones, it allows us to send a message with clear posting to drivers that if you're entering this zone and you're starting to exceed the speed limit, you should think twice. And then the revenue that will come from these fines, as Speaker McCluskey said, will go to educational outreach. Because our goal is not to fine people. Our goal is to create a safer I-70 and to make drivers aware of the dangers of I-70 and that it's not just any interstate highway. This is one where you need to be focused. You need to be paying attention. And that's what we hope to convey to our commercial vehicle drivers, and would ask for a yes vote. Thank you.
Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I understand the need for safety. I understand the challenges of driving the I-70 corridor. But I do have some concerns that I need to share with respect to this bill, which targets and affects the commercial truck drivers and that industry directly. The first question I have is how many people in this chamber have held a CDL? Raise your hand. How many people have driven a truck over 50,000 pounds of cargo? Raise your hand. Okay. How many people have driven I-70, hauling cattle or any other kind of commodity that is over 55,000 pounds? Okay. Here's what I want to tell the sponsors, and here's what this chamber needs to know. When you're driving on I-70, on those steep grades, and I understand the highway was designed in the 50s, I understand that the engineering maybe couldn't have been changed, the civil engineering of the highways couldn't have been changed due to the geographical restrictions. But I will tell you that the commercial trucking industry already has heavy fines in so many areas. Now we're going to add one more fine. Something else that commercial truck drivers have to worry about in an already very difficult environment. You see, when you're loaded with that much weight, it's very difficult to control your speed. It's challenging. It's hard. You actually have to plan ahead. And the rule of thumb is one gear down. If it's 55, you should be in fourth gear. It's one gear down from the speed limit. Not everybody can catch that gear, or if they're in that gear, then they better have engine brakes. Now, if one section of your engine brakes fails, it's very hard to control your speed. Oftentimes, because of mechanical issues, and I agree, you've got to really adjust your brakes and pay attention to your brakes and brake lining. And if they overheat, they don't work. So you can't let that problem happen. There's a lot of challenges driving up and down the mountain, as we call it, and it's hard to do. But it's necessary to do to take all the food that the two bill sponsors and other things the bill sponsors need to do all the building, the developing, the feeding that goes on in the mountains. Now, I heard some comments in opening statement. I want to read what the Joint Budget Committee staff prepared for the Appropriations Committee for 1267. According to the Department of Revenue, in the last 3 fiscal years, there were around 900 speeding citations per year that resulted in a doubled fine, and that is speeding in school districts or school zones, wildlife, or construction zones. Of these, around 5 citations were issued to commercial motor vehicles. Data on overall speeding violations from the last 3 fiscal years, including that of 29,000 annual violations, 63 per year were due to commercial motor vehicles. That's a pretty small number. Not my words, this is the Joint Budget Committee's words, based on the small number of commercial motor vehicle citations overall. The fiscal note assumes that the violations for speeding in a steep downhill grade will be minimal. Now, I understand the concerns of those in cars and pickups and motorcycles. I understand the concerns of the tourist class and the tourist community. I even understand the concerns of residents. But what is very frustrating for me is how the truckers are targeted for something that is very small in number, for a condition that is very difficult for them to control their speed, even 5-10 miles over. I've hauled cattle up to the Old Horn Ranch for decades. Now we don't do it anymore. We lost that lease. That was up in Fraser, between Fraser and Tabernash. A potload of cattle weighing over 50,000 pounds. It's hard. And if you're a few miles over the speed limit, there should better be some grace to those truckers. I don't know. But I don't like truckers having to face more rules, regulations, and fines. And now the fine's going to be doubled. Now here's the problem. For the bill sponsors, they need to know this, because I've been in this space. I've been in the trucking space, just like one of the bill sponsors is in the hospital space. Oftentimes, the trucking company, and I know because I run one, a small, intrastate, not-for-hire, local agricultural freight enterprise, is part of my portfolio of small businesses I run to support our operation and help the neighbors around me. Oftentimes, the business will say, we'll cover your fines and fees. But not every company is like that. So then, the guy that's behind the seat, doing the hard work every day, going up and down the mountain, if that company doesn't support that, now a trucker has to pay that fine or fee. And that hurts. That hurts those truck drivers.
And they may not have been trying to break any laws. It just happens. Nobody's, in very few cases, is trying to be unsafe out there. They're doing their best. So that is one of the reasons that I have some objections to the premise of the bill, and I don't think I can vote for this bill knowing what I know about the commercial trucking industry. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, colleagues, for your attention.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just responding to some of my colleagues' opposition, first of all, the goal of this bill is to be tough on public safety, to make sure that drivers are held accountable when transiting very steep portions of our mountain passes. Second of all, under current law, the fines for speeding are between $30 and $200. You can see that in the fiscal note. It would raise it to between $60 and $400, which for the types of speeds that we're talking about would be reasonable. I mean, if you're going 20, 30 miles over the speed limit, that means you're getting close to 100 miles per hour on 5% steep grades on I-70. That is very reckless. You should actually be charged with reckless driving in that particular instance, at least careless driving, because you're putting everyone on the roadway at risk. You know, I can't stress enough to this body that we have to take mountain driving serious. Yes, commercial drivers do have a lot of scrutiny, and they should have a lot of scrutiny. They're driving a big rig with over 26,000 pounds. And in addition to that, it could have hazardous materials on board. It could have chemicals. An accident like that could not only pollute our waterways, they could jeopardize our economy for hours, possibly days, depending on what type of accident it is. I can't believe someone would be willing to put the entire interstate at risk by exceeding the speed limit by multiple miles per hour. They're trained. You have to go through training to be able to get your CDL. And that is one thing that is stressed. Being the son of a truck driver, I can tell you that. My dad and I talked a lot about this particular issue. And he certainly was able to control his speed. The vast majority of semi-truck drivers are able to control their speed. This is to be able to send a message, to be able to declare certain zones as being 5% steep grade zones. It allows us to have signage, and this signage will once again alert semi-truck drivers that this is a dangerous zone, that they need to be paying attention. They need to start slowing down with their engine brakes in advance. And once again, I ask for a yes vote. Thank you.
Representative Hartsook.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. So I'm in support of this bill. And normally I'm not for more regulations, but I got a story to share that I think we'll find amusing on this morning. So back before I joined the Army, I did my share of professional driving. One time down in San Diego County, I was coming out of the mountains with a load, and it's going a little fast. State Patrol pulls me over. Said, "Do you know how fast you're going?" I'm like, "Yeah, not exactly," but I knew it was probably over the speed limit back then, which was 55. He's like, "Yeah, you're about 65." I'm like, he goes, "Well, let's do a safety inspection." And I'm like, "Tell you what, I'll save you the hassle. How about if I just tell you everything that's wrong with it, and you just write me the ticket?" He goes, "Okay." So there were a few things that I knew that we needed to get fixed, because I was driving for a company. We go through that, and of course the option is to go to driving school. So I get the ticket, and I end up in driving school. And I met a guy there that drove big rigs. And it was rent, you know, of course we're all having to tell stories, because it's kind of like you're telling, "Hey, so what stupid thing did you do to end up in driving school here for the weekend?" And so we're all telling our stories, and some of them were kind of mundane. Some of them were like, "Wow, really?" You know, mine was a good one, but his was really impressive. So he used to drive cattle trucks. And before that, he was driving the big box once. And so he was hauling a 40-footer coming off the Tejon Pass, which is north of LA. And that's got, just like coming down the Eisenhower Tunnel, there's numerous runaway truck ramps. And so, you know, and I forget what the truck speed limit is through there. It's 35, if I remember correctly. And he's cruising along, and some guy comes over the CB and says, hey, you know, lost my brakes. I don't remember how far it was down the bottom, but the guy says, I'm at mile marker so-and-so. And he gets on the radio and he goes, you will not make it. So you talk about a gutsy move. The guy says, what's your speed? And he tells him. So he starts upshifting. And he pulls in front of him, and they match speeds, and he lets him run into the back of his truck. Then he hits the Jake brakes and starts downshifting. I mean, the trailer got damaged, but everybody lived. When you're coming down those mountains with 80,000 pounds, it's not too hard to do the math and physics. Force with speed increases exponentially. Now, I don't exactly drive slow anymore, but I don't drive semis. And so these are things that you need to be aware of and that they should be aware of when they're coming off of these mountains. They need to slow down. They need to be aware of what's going on. Because there's families and teenagers. Maybe everybody's not paying as much attention as they should. I'll give you they should pay more attention, but sometimes they simply don't. When you're hauling butt in a rig that weighs 80,000 pounds and you're at or over the speed limit, it takes a long time to slow down, even using the Jake brakes. So they need to drive slower, and they need to absolutely be aware of what's going on for a multitude of reasons, safety being paramount. I mean, I've come off 70, and I'm driving fast, and I've seen trucks pass me. I'm thinking, holy crap, if they have to stop, it's not going to happen. So more signs that we can put up and get people to slow down and do the right thing, I'm absolutely for. So I rise in support, and I thank you.
Representative Taggart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you as well.
I also rise in support of this bill. I too commute from here to the far western slope and go down and up two of these significant grades and go through the Glenwood Canyon. I also use the corridor because of my lifestyle of loving to ski and fly fish and race bikes. Here's my concern about this. The 5% grade is only a part of the problem. The other part of the problem is that these road surfaces are not good. And these road surfaces are sometimes, and many times, covered with snow and ice. And at this time of the year, the melting of that snow and ice. And I don't know about you folks, but I don't care how big a car you have. When you're descending on this and a truck is going by you and it's hitting rough surfaces and it's spraying a ton of water and a ton of snow, again, I don't care how big your car is, it's a white knuckle experience. And then if, God forbid, you have a smaller car or an electric, an EV car that might be smaller, God forbid. This needs to change. Truckers need to be aware that these are dangerous downgrades and they are never ideal conditions. And for those of you that have ever been through Glenwood Canyon, when a truck blocks one of the sides on the Glenwood Canyon, it's not easy to divert to the other side because of the way that is laid out. And you could be sitting there for hours. So I rise in support. This is a good bill.
Representative Epps.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would imagine that this bill is going to pass, and so I just want to be on the record about why I would hope that it wouldn't. Of course, we care about highway safety. Of course, we care about our commercial drivers driving safely. My colleague said truckers need to be aware of the dangerous conditions. Of course, they do need to be aware, and of course, they are. But where this bill goes awry and it takes up the space of us having the opportunity to do something that would be actually meaningful and effective in slowing down truck drivers who are moving at these speeds is to address the root causes. Why are truck drivers, commercial drivers coming through Colorado, why are they moving so fast? Why do they need to? And all of the answers to the why come back to their companies, employers, and the pressures and incentives that are placed on them to drive too fast for conditions. So profit is the goal in mind for trucking companies. I'm not making a commentary on capitalism, but when profit is the goal, then the faster their goods are delivered, then the more money they're going to make. And so in order to increase their financial gain, trucking companies are often cutting off the vital safety provisions that would actually interrupt these speed traps and help Coloradans be safer on our roads. It is important to understand that while some of us may not have raised our hands in recognition of who has a CDL or who has driven, there are folks in this room who know that truck drivers in Colorado are under extreme pressure from the trucking companies to deliver their goods so quickly that safety becomes a secondary concern so that they're able to return and pick up a new shipment. This makes common sense, and I would invite us to consider that just because it feels good to increase a penalty, if that increasing a penalty isn't going to interrupt behavior and isn't going to keep us safer, then we should vote no.
Representative DeGraff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just find it interesting that my colleague made a business case for voting yes as a reason for voting no, because if it's a financial profit motive that is driving this, that is creating the unsafe condition by forcing that, then you would want to increase the cost of the infraction to discourage that. So if it is say a $200 additional fine, then you'd have to look at, well, how much money am I going to save in that amount of time, and am I going to save $200 in that amount of time, or start doing a cost-benefit analysis. So it's just interesting that the business case was made for yes, for the answer of no, but to each his own. I mean, there are concerns. I give it that there are valid concerns with increasing a penalty on drivers. In any case, but there is a financial motive for that. Thank you.
Speaker McCluskey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I just wanted to address a couple of things. I do believe that most Colorado truck drivers probably do know the conditions of our high alpine environments, although, as I stated earlier, most of these truckers on I-70 are from out of state, and our goal with increasing the fines is certainly to provide better education and outreach. We have discussed with CSP the concerns about trucking companies and the incentives they may be putting into place to try and entice our drivers to break the law by speeding. They shared with me that they do compliance reviews, investigations that they conduct in follow-up to incidents or inspections. They average approximately 40,000 commercial vehicle inspections in Colorado every year. And during 2021 and 2022, a total of 1,040 inspections included a violation for CMVs that were going 15 miles per hour or more over the speed limit. But those reviews then have triggered 100 investigations with motor carrier companies. And so they have reviewed and continue to review some of the incentives or other challenges that companies may be putting into place for drivers. We also met with a group that represents the interests of many of our drivers. We wanted to be sure they were aware of our legislation, and one of the investments that will come from the doubling of these fines is better signage and more signage. Again, trying to improve public safety as best we can, not just by increasing fines, but by taking additional educational outreach and improving communications. I urge an aye vote on 1267.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1267 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill passes. Mr. Sheeb will please read the title to House Bill 1076.
House Bill 1076 by Representative Doherty concerning workers' compensation and in connection therewith, increasing the duration of benefits based on mental impairment, removing the authority to petition over artificial devices, allowing an employee to request a hearing on the loss of total temporary disability benefits under certain circumstances, updating provisions related to independent medical examinations, and increasing the amount of attorney fees that are presumed unreasonable.
Representative Doherty.
Thank you, and I move House Bill 1076 in the Appropriations Committee report.
To the committee report.
In appropriations, we were appropriated funds for this bill.
Is there any further discussion on the Appropriations Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee report is adopted. To the bill. Representative Doherty.
Thank you, and this bill is a negotiated bill that Pinnacle does support. We also negotiated with this with the self-insureds, and it does a few things. It recognizes the importance of mental health by modestly expanding workers' compensation benefits. It cuts red tape for workers who require certain medical devices by removing unnecessary petition requirements. It allows workers to request an expedited hearing to challenge certain aspects of a doctor's determination to end their temporary disability benefits. And another thing it does is it reduces the cost to both workers and insurance companies by limiting the size of medical records packets to only information that is relevant. And I ask for an aye vote.
Representative Bradley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I have a couple of issues that I'm hoping the bill sponsor can help me with, being in healthcare and not wanting to increase that. So a couple of things. This bill is going to increase state expenditures. It's going to increase them by about $1 million in 2023 and 2024 and about $1.1 million per year thereafter, paid from the Workers' Compensation Cash Fund. This increased expenditure is going to lead to higher taxes or cuts in other areas, which would be detrimental to taxpayers. It also amends the maximum allowable rate for contingent attorney fee from 20 to 25% of the amount of contested benefits that are presumed to be unreasonable. This, and we have seen this so many times, is going to lead to higher legal fees for individuals and companies involved in workers' compensation cases. We take a lot of workers' compensation at my clinic, and I just want to make sure that this is not a way for attorneys to file fraudulent claims because we've increased their percentage to 25%. It expands the authority of the DIME pre-hearing unit. This expansion may lead to additional bureaucracy and red tape, which may increase costs and delay the resolution of disputes. It may also limit the ability of individuals and companies to resolve disputes in a timely and efficient manner. And it's also probably going to increase costs for local governments. And I ran on a campaign to not do that to my local communities. This bill may increase costs for local governments for workers' compensation, whether through increased benefit payments through self-funded coverage or through increased premiums for local governments that purchase coverage. This could lead to also higher taxes or cuts in other areas, which would be detrimental to taxpayers. In summary, for me, this bill increases state expenditures, limits the freedom of state employees to access health care and medical products, creates a perverse incentive for attorneys, expands bureaucracy and red tape, and may lead to higher costs for local governments. From a limited government fiscal responsibility and libertarian perspective, I think that this bill should be opposed. I do have a couple of questions. I would like to know, and I asked in appropriations, what are the stats on changing the benefits from mental impairment from 12 weeks to 36 weeks? That means going from 3 months to 10 months. And I just want to understand, at 10 months, are these people ready to go back to work? Are they done being on workers' compensation? And what that means to the employer to go from paying these benefits from 3 months to now 10 months. So if they could answer that, that would be great. Or not pay attention at all, whichever.
Representative Bottoms.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Also, Speaker Pro Tem, and all the other titles. I would like to, I move Amendment 003, and I'd like to have that displayed.
The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you. This amendment is based upon the effect. So the bill originally had 12 in there, struck that out, and went to 36 for the amount of time that this can be made possible. And I think that's just a little too extensive. I think if we could back that up a little bit. I was thinking about halfway in between, around 24 weeks, but I'd like to back this up to 30 if we could. So that's what my amendment says. Make it a little more feasible, I think, fiscally responsible too, but that's not a huge chunk. But to really just kind of make it, keep it away from the ability to be abused at different levels, and I think that's potentially what's going on. So I'd like to ask for an aye vote for Amendment 003.
Representative Doherty.
Thank you, and we'd ask for a no vote. This was a heavily negotiated bill. Again, Pinnacle supports. We worked with the self-insureds. We believe that all of the points in this bill that were negotiated are fair to workers and employers. So we'd ask for a no.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L3. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The noes have it, and the amendment fails. Representative Bradley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Hopefully I'll get some answers to the questions I asked previously. I would like to move Amendment L004 and ask that it be displayed.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I've seen this personally in 24 years of taking care of workers' compensation patients who want to get better, but the attorneys like to fight and provide frivolous and sometimes fraudulent lawsuits. And I don't think by increasing their payment to 25% is going to help any of these cases. So I ask that this be changed back to 20% and ask for an aye vote on this amendment.
Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also rise in opposition to that one component that raises attorneys' fees by 5%. In this case, from 20 to 25%. I've come up here many times in past years in this session talking about how we need to make sure we don't create conditions that create more litigious activities, more frivolous lawsuits or claims, only to enrich the lawyer class and lawyers. I'm sure that's not the intent of this, but that's what happens. You put more money in lawyers' pockets through legislation. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's right. In the workmen's compensation space, we have numerous statutes addressing that. We've created conditions that are not favorable to the employer, but are more favorable to the employee, and now we continue to create more conditions that are adverse to the employers and benefit the employees. And now, with this bill, House Bill 231076, benefit the lawyers. I have issue with that. I stand strong for business and small business. Every day I come to this chamber as a small business owner, I think about the challenges that we all face in the small business space. The challenges that we all face in the small business space are real. If you don't run a small business, come join me and see how much fun it is. See how hard it is. I don't speak lightly about this. Because when the juice isn't worth the squeeze, people walk away. Or maybe they go to another state. I had a person on Saturday night that sat at my table with respect to business. And I want to talk about this and tie it back to the bill, because this is just another thing that affects small business. They moved from Weld County. For those colleagues from Larimer County, I don't want to speak inaccurately, but I do have colleagues from Weld County, and I have no reference to impugn anybody from Weld County representing that county. But I do have to tell this story. No, I don't want to. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to. But this is a real story about small business and how hard it is to run a business and why businesses migrate. This person moved her business, and ironically, it's a CDL licensing business where they train. It's a previous bill, I know, Mr. Speaker, or Mr. Chair. Just bear with me. They're moving from Weld County to Morgan County because it's too hard to run their business. In this, if we continue to create conditions that make it harder and harder for small business to operate, even something so small as this, which may raise the workers' compensation requirements for small business to pay, and also raises attorneys' fees and attorneys' costs on either side of the issue, on a claim, perhaps a fraudulent or frivolous claim, then it makes it harder for us to do what we do in the small business space. And Colorado's small businesses grow weary. We grow weary of more rules and regulations and costs and government oversight. And that's why I stand up here and speak what I speak and say what I say to the bill sponsors and to this chamber. You've got to understand. What I say is real. It's fatiguing. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the bill sponsors in this case.
Representative Doherty.
Thank you, and we're asking for a no on this amendment, and I'll give a little explanation. So work comp attorneys are uniquely regulated in Colorado statute as one of the only areas of law where they have a cap of 20%. There's no cap on fees in personal injury cases, no cap on fees in family law, none on criminal law, none in insurance defense. No other area is there a cap on fees. 30 years ago, in 1991, Senate Bill 218, the cap was reduced from 25% to 20%, so this section is restoring the cap back to 25%. Now let me tell you why that's important. It's very, very difficult for an injured worker to go through the workers' compensation area by themselves. When they have an attorney, they are much more likely to have a good outcome in their case. So what we also want to do is incentivize attorneys to practice in this area. We want to make sure that when you need good representation, it's there. On average, represented injured workers received 50% more benefits than unrepresentative injured workers. And the 25% fee, I think it's also important to note, is a maximum, not a mandate. The injured worker can still negotiate with an attorney over the fee. So again, we would respectfully request a no vote on this amendment. Thanks.
Representative Frizzell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor and a pleasure to serve with you.
Thank you. I want to voice my appreciation to the bill sponsor for that explanation. I understand that this bill is a negotiated bill with Pinnacle and that everyone was at the table. I am rising in support of my colleague's amendment, however. I just look at this as we continue to talk about the affordability issues in our state. And to me, if we are increasing attorney's fees, that means that that cost has got to go somewhere, right? It doesn't just come from thin air. That cost has got to be just absorbed by somebody else, and that generally means everybody else who is paying into this. And I really feel strongly that we should pay attention to this in every bill that we look at and ask ourselves, are we making Colorado less affordable by adding to fees, adding to percentages? So I very respectfully ask for an aye vote on this amendment. Thank you.
Representative Winter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I also rise in support of this amendment as a small business owner. It's tougher and tougher every day to make a living. Throughout my district, I see businesses shuttering up on Main Street in almost every county and within my district. And I run a business on the day-to-day when I'm not here. And there is just more and more that is coming against us, that's stacking against us. And my colleague from Douglas County is correct. Those costs have to be spread throughout. And who absorbs the cost? Who does it affect? And at the end of the day, the way I look at it is it affects the consumer. It affects the person that is getting a service from your business. It has to go somewhere. With taxes the way they are, with inflation the way it is, small businesses are taking the brunt of this on their back. And to make an extra dollar, to keep their doors open, the lights on, those are things that I don't think a lot of people have ever had to do. Make a payroll, make sure the lights stay on, make sure you can pay your employees. I mean, there's so many things to running a small business, and there's so much overbearing regulation, and there's so much cost sharing that comes into a business. I know it seems futile, but every little bit matters. Every tiny little bit matters when you're trying to survive, especially as a small business. And for the amount of contribution the small business puts into Colorado, how many people we employ, the tax base that we provide, these are the instances when I think that we can take the foot off the gas a little bit, put it on the brakes, and especially look out for those small businesses. So I urge an aye vote on this. I hate to see the trickle-down effect, but at the end of the day, nothing's free. Somebody's got to pay for it, and it's probably going to be the consumer. Thank you.
Representative Bradley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Going back, and I appreciate the bill sponsor coming up and speaking about it, but what you don't know is a healthcare worker, patients that go through workers' comp have been ready to go back to work, and an attorney comes in and leads them astray and leads them to go through litigation and leads them to go through the judicial system, which drives our worker compensation cost up, which they then put on to the employee. At some point, it goes back to us. And what are we doing by this? How are we limiting the fraudulent claims through workers' compensation? Because I'm telling you, of 24 years experience, there's been a multitude in my business. And what costs to our state to make it less affordable? I think this is an easy amendment to vote yes on, and I encourage my colleagues to do so. Thank you.
Representative DeGraff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Any of these percent increases, they go greatly. Well, I mean, one, if it's against our government, the taxpayers are going to pay for it. And this is not a matter of not wanting people to get the care that they need, not wanting to get the help, but at some point there's a limit. And for small businesses, if you increase a percent, that percent of a single employee or just a handful of employees makes a big difference. And, business is the golden goose that runs our economy, and you can only grab that thing by the neck for so long before it's dead. And we're killing our businesses with good intentions. And at some point, we have to realize that businesses, small businesses especially, are not pots of money that legislation can just reach into and just magically pull out some sort of, I don't know, probably some social equity or something, justice, or some other buzzword. So I'd ask, before we get into the bulverism of just saying that, well, you don't care, so your arguments are invalid, that we would consider what these things do to the businesses that we drive out. And yes, we want everybody to receive the care that they need, but we also want them to have a job. And this kind of regulation, this increase all the time, just like we're going to keep driving this up, we're going to keep driving up these costs, we're going to keep driving up the incentives to not do business in Colorado. Those are serious. So if we want to keep business in Colorado, we need to look at and consider the pressures that we're putting on the businesses to leave. So I'd recommend a yes vote on this amendment.
Representative Doherty.
Thank you, and thank you for a good debate. I think, again, this bill makes several meaningful changes. We worked really hard with stakeholding, and we're proud of this bill and ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L4. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no? No. The noes have it, and the amendment fails. Seeing no further discussion on the bill, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1076 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no? No. The ayes have it, and the bill passes. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1138.
House Bill 1138 by Representatives Amable and Soper, concerning procedures related to adult competency proceedings.
Representative Amable.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill, 1138, is about adult competency, and I want to first move the bill and the judiciary report.
To the judiciary report.
And the appropriations report. Oh,
I do not believe there's an appropriations report.
Sorry, that was my fault.
Yes, in judiciary, we ran a couple of amendments to get everybody to a good place on the bill, and I asked for a yes vote on the judiciary report.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Judiciary Committee report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The aye has it, and the Judiciary Committee report is adopted. To the bill.
I'll let you move them.
Okay.
Representative Amable.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I have two amendments, and I'm going to start by moving L003 and ask that it be displayed.
Please proceed.
So this amendment L002 was done at the behest of the psychiatrists. They don't want to be compelled to petition for a short-term certification. They will do it when they think it's appropriate, and there will be times when other mental health professionals will ask for those certifications, and I ask for a yes vote.
I'm sorry, Representative Amable, our chief clerk has pointed out that you may have misspoken in the motion and said Amendment L2. Would you please clarify that you've moved Amendment L3?
Thank you. Yes, I move Amendment L003.
Okay, thank you for clarifying for us. Is there further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L3. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the amendment passes. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L004 and ask that it be properly displayed.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a clarifying amendment to change from BHA to department, just for clarity's sake.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L4. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the amendment is adopted. Representative Amable.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I would like to talk about the bill now.
You can certainly feel free to do so.
Okay. So as I said before, we did a lot of stakeholding on this bill. The interested parties met for over a year, and the overarching goal of the bill is to move people who have been found incompetent to proceed or who are where competency has been raised, to move people who have misdemeanor crimes that they are accused of but not convicted of from the jail into care and treatment. And I ask for a yes vote.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and it's an honor to be on this bill with Representative Amable, and I know you've done a lot of work in this space. Members, just to refresh your recollection, if you're accused of a crime, our criminal justice system requires that you must be competent to stand trial, meaning you know and understand the charges brought against you. And we have this long wait because the state hospital currently is at capacity, and we have individuals like 400 plus who would be waiting to get in. What we also know is that there's some individuals who will never be competent to proceed with their trial. So being able to start the process earlier when they're in jail, to be able to start treatment right away, also helps with this. And to create a process where either they're going to get treatment and be able to proceed with their case, or they're going to have treatment and they're going to be found that they're never going to be competent, and to get them on a plan to where we continue to work with that individual. We also have requirements in here in the case of a dismissal or a stay of charges as well. And then obviously we want to know what's going on, so we have a reporting requirement. This is a good change, and one that will definitely greatly help and certainly address the shortfall that we have in our system currently, and we would ask for a yes vote. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1138 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill passes. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1174.
House Bill 1174 by Representative Amabile concerning homeowners insurance and in connection therewith, requiring certain reports related to the cost of rebuilding a home in the event of a total loss, increasing the notice requirement before an insurer can cancel or refuse to renew a homeowner's insurance policy, and creating guaranteed replacement cost coverage in homeowners insurance.
Representative Amabile.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I move the Bill 1174, the Business Affairs and Labor Committee report, and the Appropriations report.
To the Appropriations Committee report.
Yes, so we were in appropriations today, and we were appropriated the funds to do what is needed to enact the bill. And I ask for a yes on the Appropriations report.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations Committee report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee report is adopted. To the Business Affairs and Labor Committee report, Representative Amabile.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to move Amendment L009 to the Business Affairs and Labor Committee report, and ask that it be displayed.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this amendment does a few different things. It cleans up some of the timelines at the request of the insurance industry so that they have time to do what they need to do to implement the bill. It sets up a study around affordability that was part of what we did in a previous bill. It then also provides further information for consumers so that if they reject additional coverages, they understand what those coverages would cost. And in the hopes that actually will help them make the best decision for themselves. And I would ask for a yes vote on L009.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L9. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the amendment passes. We are back to the committee report. Representative Amable.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I ask for a yes vote on the committee report.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Business Affairs and Labor Committee report as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee report is adopted. To the bill, Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill will significantly help communities like mine from ever experiencing the kind of underinsurance problem that we experienced after the Marshall Fire. So many folks, nearly 1,100 families, returned to homes that were completely destroyed after the Marshall Fire, and losses totaled over $1 billion. But it was the underinsurance problem that has kept people from being able to return to their homes and begin to rebuild. This bill will allow for disclosures on the front end, for independent studies that help people to understand what the rebuilding cost will be, and will help to make sure that people have options that are offered to them at higher levels of coverage and insurance so that they can make the choices that are best for them and their families.
Representative Amable.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just would like to thank my co-prime sponsor who really does represent the bulk of the people who were impacted by the Marshall Fire. And this certainly was a lot of the impetus for this legislation. It's a good bill. It has been carefully worked out between the industry and the stakeholders, and I urge a yes vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1174 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill passes. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I'd like to lay over House Bill 1270 until tomorrow.
Seeing no objection, House Bill 1270 will be laid over as requested by the Majority Leader. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1274.
House Bill 1274 by Representatives McCormick and Catlin concerning an appropriation for Species Conservation Trust Fund projects.
Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 23-1274.
To the
and
bill. There is no committee report.
Okay. This bill is the Species Conservation Trust Fund bill. This is an annual bill from the Department of Natural Resources that this year, luckily, we get to appropriate $5 million, and it's coming from a cash fund. It's coming from the Severance Tax Operational Fund. And this bill does some really important work across our state each year in addressing the recovery and protecting of species that are listed on the endangered species list, either by state law or federal law. And it also really helps evaluate some of the habitat decline and things that we can do to protect habitats across our state. You'll see in the bill that the monies are being separated out for a variety of different projects: native terrestrial wildlife conservation and native aquatic wildlife conservation, over $2 million for the Upper Colorado River Endangered Species Fish Recovery Program and the San Juan River Basin Recovery Implementation Program, $50,000 for selenium management, research, and monitoring, and also $500,000 for the Federal Endangered Species Act. So my co-prime sponsor can't be here today, but I know that he would want everyone to pay close attention to all the different projects that are on the list in the bill that you can look at. I also would believe that he would say it's a good bill, vote yes, so I will say that for him. I'm sure he doesn't mind. Also, remarkably, this morning, this bill passed out of the Appropriations Committee unanimously, so I would urge all of you to please vote yes on this bill.
Assistant Minority Leader Puglisi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I support what this bill does. I was just curious, though, about the Federal Endangered Species Act litigation program. I know when I was a former county commissioner, we had a lot of maybe not so positive interaction with the federal government over endangered species and how they were listing it, and more specifically, the yellow-billed cuckoo. And so I'm just curious, is this money going to help let's say, counties in the state against federal government overreach, or what exactly is that money going towards? Thank you.
Representative Holtorf.
Do you need time? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the answer to the previous question is yes, this helps local government, counties, and the state of Colorado in protecting against those particular federal requirements. And I'm going to explain why. I know she's in consult with one of the bill sponsors. And the reason this bill is so important, esteemed colleagues and members of this chamber, is because with this program, Colorado Conservation is funded and supported to build back the populations of these species. Now you wonder why this cowpoke is up here talking about it. Well, I'm going to tell you, because we in agriculture need the water. We've got to have the water to raise our crops. And if there's an endangered species issue, and I'll go to my district in House District 63 along the South Platte River Basin, if there's some endangered aquatic species, and we are not building and trying to support that population through what this bill, House Bill 231274, supports and funds, and that population gets critically low, then there is a very good chance the federal government will come in and shut down the off-stream flows of that water. And those off-stream flows are agriculture and other things, also recreation and other things. But I want to speak to agriculture because that's what I am here to stand up for, and that is what really is so important to me as a rural agricultural legislator. So the answer to this question is yes, absolutely yes. And as we support this, as we get behind this funding project, we build the populations of these species to a point where they are not then considered endangered by the federal government, and the populations slowly recover. And I'll turn it back over to the bill sponsor.
Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And yes, I did want to at least respond to Assistant Minority Leader with her question. And my understanding is this funding for that litigation fund is to backfill what has been spent over the last few years. I think the last time that they actually had any money put into that litigation fund was 2019. And it's used for a variety of purposes, and it could be in defense of areas where species need legal defense in order to have these programs stay in place, but I promise to at least get you more information on that funding. But this is really just to fill up that bucket of money that had not been replenished since 2019. So I urge an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1274. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill passes. The committee will stand in a brief recess. The committee will come back to order. Majority Leader Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I move the committee rise and report.
Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Schiebel, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report is under consideration the following attached bills being the second reading thereof and making the following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1076 as amended, 1138 as amended, 1174 as amended, 1267 as amended, 1274 passed on second reading and ordered and engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1270 and Senate Bill 60 laid over until April 19th, 2023.
Speaker Degree Kennedy. Speaker Pro Tem Degree Kennedy. Like that. Members, you've heard the motion. There are amendments at the desk. Mr. Schiebel, please read the bottoms amendment to House Bill 1076 to the Committee of the Whole report.
Representative Bottoms moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse action taken by the committee in not adopting the following Bottoms Amendment, L3 to House Bill 1076 to show that said amendment passed, that House Bill 1076 as amended passed.
Representative Bottoms.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole and ask it to be properly displayed.
The Bottoms Amendment has been properly moved and displayed. Please proceed.
Again, I felt that 36 was too long of a time frame and wanted to bring it down to 30 just so that there wouldn't be a potential abuse of this. It was originally 12, thought about 24, but I compromised at 30 to try to offset any potential abuse or corruption of this particular extra time frame. So I ask for an aye vote.
Representative Doherty.
Thank you. We ask for a no vote on this amendment.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Bottoms Amendment to the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Basenecker votes no. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Morrow votes no. Please close the machine. With 17 aye, 46 no, and 2 excused, the Bottoms Amendment is lost. Mr. Schiebel, please read the Bradley Amendment to the Committee of the Whole report to House Bill 1076.
Representative Bradley moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse the action taken by the committee in not adopting the following Bottoms Amendment, L4 to House Bill 1076 to show that said amendment passed, that House Bill 1076 is amended passed.
Representative Bradley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the Bradley Amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole. And it's already displayed.
It is properly displayed. Please proceed.
Thank you, colleagues. You can press that green button. This is a good amendment. This helps small businesses. This helps to take the hands off the litigators who want to bring forth fraudulent claims. Let's make them go back to 20%. You can push that little green button. I promise you can. I urge an aye vote on this. Thank you.
Representative Doherty.
Committee, I urge a no vote. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Bradley Amendment to the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Basenecker votes no. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Morrow votes no. Please close the machine. With 18 aye, 45 no, and 2 excused, the Bradley Amendment is lost. There are no more amendments at the desk. The question before us is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Please close the machine. With 45 aye, 18 no, and 2 excused, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to proceed out of order for consideration of conference committee reports.
Seeing no objection, we will proceed out of order to conference committee reports. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to Senate Bill 241.
Senate Bill 241 by Senators Bridges and Kirkmeyer, also Representatives Byrd and Bockenfeld, concerning the creation of the Office of School Safety and in connection therewith, requiring the Director of the Office of School Safety to appoint a grants manager, creating crisis response unit within the Office of School Safety, specifying that the Office of School Safety has oversight over the School Safety Resource Center, specifying that the School Access for Emergency Response Grant Program is administered by the Office of School Safety, creating a Youth Violence Grant Program administered by the office, and making an appropriation.
Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House adopt the first report of the First Conference Committee on Senate Bill 241.
Please proceed.
So, members, in our conference committee, we made one small revision, which was simply to clarify the limited authority of the executive director in the Office of School Safety, and making clear that this director has only the authority necessary related to school safety and implementation of the bill.
Representative Bockenfeld.
And I ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 241. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Representative Bradfield. With 60, please close the machine. With 60 aye, 3 no, and 2 excused, Senate Bill 240, the Conference Committee of Senate Bill 241 is adopted. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move Senate Bill 241 as amended by Conference Committee report.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 241 as amended by the Conference Committee report. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Please close the machine. With 60 aye, 3 no, and 2 excused, Senate Bill 241 as amended is repassed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to Senate Bill 90.
Senate Bill 90 by Senator Gardner, also Representative Snyder, concerning the enactment of the 2022 amendments to the Uniform Commercial Code.
Representative Snyder.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to adopt the First Conference Committee report of the First Conference Committee for Senate Bill 90.
Please proceed.
Welcome. Thank you. So, folks, this is actually a pretty interesting story, so if you'll indulge me. We had this thing all put to bed, ready to go to enrolling, and found out that 2 governors in South Dakota and Oklahoma had actually vetoed their 22 amendments to the UCC. And it all had to do with electronic money and Bitcoin and all of that. So we crafted an amendment with the UCC to take that language out, and we'll be studying that over the interim and bring a more concise bill next year. So I ask for your support.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is a great change now, so just wanted to say vote yes.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 90. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Please close the machine. With 63 aye, 0 no, and 2 excused, the Conference Committee report to Senate Bill 90 is adopted. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move Senate Bill 90 as amended by Conference Committee report.
The question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 90 as amended by the Conference Committee report. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Representatives Epps and Luck. Please close the machine. With 61 aye, 2 no, and 2 excused, Senate Bill 90 is adopted. As amended. Knew I was missing something. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to proceed out of order for consideration of Senate amendments.
Seeing no objection, we will proceed out of order for consideration of Senate amendments. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move to lay over House Bill 1132 until tomorrow.
Seeing no objection, House Bill 1132 is laid over until tomorrow. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1009.
House Bill 1009 by Representative Lindsay, also Senator Moreno, concerning measures to improve services for students who use substances and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Representative Lindsay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It pains me to say, but I accept this amendment, and please vote yes. Thank you.
Representative Lindsay, I need for you to move that the House concur.
And I move that the House concur with the amendment. Thank you.
To House Bill 1009.
To House Bill 1009.
Sorry. Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1009. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Representative Holtorf. Please close the machine. With 47 ayes, 17 no, and 1 excused, the motion to concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1009 is adopted. Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I move for the repassage of House Bill 1009 as amended.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of House Bill 1009 as amended. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Basenecker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Rep. Basenecker votes yes. Representative Morrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Morrow votes yes. Please close the machine. With 46 aye, 18 no, and 1 excused, House Bill 1009 as amended is repassed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to lay over the balance of the calendar until tomorrow.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over until tomorrow, April 19th. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House recess until later today.
Seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess until later today.